quality in terms of children's services and the criteria used to access full provision.
Yeah. Okay. Right, the notion of quality. So notion means idea, right? The idea of quality. Now, what's your understanding of quality? What does it mean? And why should we care about it? Yep, standard, that's a good start.
Whether something's fit for purpose.
Whether something is fit for purpose.
They're saying they call it the standard of children's services.
Okay. So standard, fitness for purpose. What else?
It implies that it's measurable. It implies that it's measurable.
Is quality measurable?
Could be in relation to, say for example, Ofsted, they
Okay.
measure your quality of provision.
It can be good quality or bad quality, something.
Well, that's it, isn't it? There is a debate around.
Could it be open for interpretation?
Yes. Okay. So, shall we have quality here? Okay. Right. Ruby, you said standards or standard. What else was mentioned?
Fit for purpose.
Fit for purpose. Okay.
Open for interpretation. Open to interpretation.
Right. If I just write subjective, would you be happy with that?
Yeah. Depends on the situation.
Okay. So, open to interpretation. Depends on Ruby.
On circumstance, on the issue, whatever.
Okay.
Sort of thing.
All right. Anything else? Someone mentioned measurability, right? Was it you, Sarah?
Yes.
Measurable. Okay, what else do we have? What else do we have? Quality.
Can you not make it simple and say something's good or bad?
Yep. So, yep, that's correct, Katie. Right, what else?
Quality would have an impact on, say for example, the services, and then it would have an impact on, say, the stakeholders. So it would have an impact, quality would have an impact on somebody.
Yep, so it does have an impact on someone, right? So what kind of impact are we talking about?
Impact, so say for example on stakeholders, so it would have an impact on parents, families, going back to Ofsted, that in children's services perhaps would measure quality. If there wasn't good provision, that may have an impact on practitioners, children, parents.
Yep,
Or if you're looking at other services again, they would have to be sort of quality.
yep. So when you talk about impact, okay, can you give examples of that kind of impact? For example.
A positive or a negative impact. So
Okay, positive or negative impact. Let's start with positive impact. What positive impact can quality have?
And then it's an attraction, isn't it? So if it's a school, if it's got a high level of quality, it will attract
more kids.
more children,
Mhm.
maybe a higher quality of staff,
Yep,
therefore it get more funding.
okay. So what is it exactly do we mean by quality? If you were asked to define quality, how would you define it? What would you say?
Google it first.
Okay, that's the shortcut. Okay, let's take the long route. Google, that's fine. Okay, so what do you anticipate Google to say without you going to Google?
Something that like gives assurance. So like quality assurance. It's
Yep, quality assurance. You're using that word, quality. What does it mean?
to assure somebody that something's fit for purpose. It's
Fit for purpose. Okay, yeah. You're on the right path, on the right lines, yeah.
Could it be like a level of expectation?
Expectation comes into play, right? That's why when you go back to the learning outcome, it doesn't talk about quality. It doesn't mention quality per se. It mentions the notion of quality, i.e., quality is an idea. It's perceived. We do not have an absolute meaning of what quality is, right? What I mean is quality can mean different things to different people at different times in different places.
it's the desirable, isn't it? What you desire to.
Exactly. Yes. Brilliant. It's what people desire. Okay? And because it's based on people's perceptions, you'll find out that people's expectations are what? Are they always the same? Are they ever the same?
No.
Right? There's a saying, one man's meat is another's poison, or one person's meat is another's poison. Right? What you consider good quality, someone else may think, oh, what's that? Yeah? Okay. Right. I was about to give an example, but okay, I'll think about it later. Right, okay? But everything will have someone who likes it and to have someone who dislikes it, regardless of the effort you put in. There will be people who like certain things and there will be people who do not like the very same things, okay? And to make the situation even more complex, a person may say this is what they want today, and if you give them the exact same thing next week, they may not like it. Why do you think that is? What could be the possible reason?
Because there's been an impact on the week before. So if there's a negative impact, then they might want to change the way that they do something.
Okay. Yeah. A child may say this is what they want, right? In a certain situation. You give them the exact thing, say a month or 2 months later, the child may not like it. Maybe they've changed their mind. Maybe their taste has changed. You're not always going to like the same thing all the time.
It's like a supermarket, they're constantly changing all the things.
Rebranding,
Yeah.
changing the stock. Maybe even, right, okay, let's come closer to home, okay? You're about to get married. I'm not saying that's what happened, that is what is happening. It's an example. Say you're about to get married. You're very, very excited about the person you're about to get married to. And you do your wedding and stuff, and you're excited. And the day after, you're thinking, right, what have I got myself into? Okay? Or maybe you're happy during the honeymoon period, and then 5 years later, you are filing for divorce. What's happening? It's the same person, right? Nothing has changed. What's happening there? Why is it the person you loved so much, whom you could actually fight for, and get into a fight for, could kill for, suddenly 5 years later, you detest the person, you hate this person? What's happening?
Well, it depends what's happening in the line.
For example.
You could have cheated on her.
No, okay. All right. Yes, they could have. Say they haven't done anything wrong, They haven't cheated, they haven't done anything, you just simply got fed up.
It might not be what they want then. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
The quality of the person has gone down in their estimation.
Your point is very good, Katie. The reason is we will learn about something called continuous improvement. If something stays the same, people get over familiar to it and they get bored. So there is this idea of continuous improvement. Okay? You get married, you get complacent, you stay the same. You wear the same clothes over the next 5 years. That's a recipe for disaster. Okay? Because the other person will get too familiar with you. There's nothing, because what excites people is continuous improvement. You know, when the iPhone was introduced years ago, I can't remember when that was. Was it 2003? If they were selling the same iPhone in 2019, would you still be in love with it?
It was the only decent phone now.
Would you still be in love with it? Exactly the same phone?
Yeah,
The first iPhone?
why not?
Why not? Okay. Right? Anyone else?
No, because for example, Samsung brought out a better phone, and then you're striving for something better all the time.
Okay. So another thing we are learning about quality, we have this issue of comparisons. Right? Now these are going to be very important for you as early as or child practitioners, because if your setting remains the same, you get grade 1 doing exactly the same thing. 5 years from now, you continue to do the same thing, you may not get grade 1. No improvement. Continuous improvement. And you will be compared to other settings which are moving on. Okay? I'm not a marriage counselor, but if you stay the same for the next 5 years, the other person may actually get bored with you.
How long have you been married?
A long time.
Remember, you're being videoed and she's going to call it.
A long time. A long time. It's been a long, long time. Yeah, you don't remain the same. You do that. Yeah, people get bored. Yeah. End of story. Why do you think people change cars? It's never broken down, it's never let them down, ever. But why do you change your cars? Why do you change your shoes? Why do you change your phones? Why do you think every year there's a new iPhone? It's because people at Apple know that you get bored with the same things. You know, when you have your iPhone, the new one, you can't even drop it. If you drop it, you feel like everything has come to an end for you. But 4, 5, 6 months down the line, you don't care what happens to it. You know, when you get drunk, your screen might be smashed, and you're not too worried about it. You can still use it as it is. A new one comes, excited, you get into the, some people actually get into a queue just to wait for the iPhone to be sold to them, probably 3-4 hours queuing for an iPhone. Why? Because of this novelty of newness. Right? Now, quality is perception. When you talk of quality, continuous improvement should be a feature. That's why I said you cannot offer children the same thing and expect them to be happy about it every time. It's got to be new all the time. Predictability breeds monotony. People get bored with things when they become so predictable. Okay? But I'm not saying people should get divorced. I'm not saying that at all. In case I gave you the wrong idea, don't stay wherever you are. You'll be happy forever. Okay. Right. Okay. So political landscape, policy and key debates, that's what we're interested in. So we're looking at theory, policy, practice, and current issues, what the relationship is between quality and current issues. Okay? That's an iPhone. We have one simple key term today, quality. All right? One simple key term. I like what you've said already about quality. I think you know what you're doing. I'm not too sure if you need me. You know the topic already. Okay, to go to the office and do something else. Yeah?
No.
Right, let's see what we have. So this is an overview of what we're going to learn today. We have two broad themes. We have quality, we have the political landscape. Okay? Under quality, we're going to look at theory, policy, practice. So what theories are available? What theories out there regarding quality? When we talk about quality, what are the influential theories on this thing that we call quality? And then we're going to look at policy. What does policy say about quality in the sector? All right? And the last thing is, in practice, how do people implement quality measures? What is it that we do every day in our settings to ensure that we keep and maintain a high standard of practice for the benefit of the children we serve? And then we have political landscape. We are interested in two things: the relationship between politics and quality, and then key quality debates. Remember, your question mentions political issues, right? There's politics somewhere. The current issue has to be political, right? Okay. Right. Now, based on the overview on the preceding slide, I want you to formulate your individual academic aims for this session. We will then revisit them. Now, you are going to determine what you want to learn today. What are your aims based on that? What is it that you want to learn? And then we'll go back to it after. No more than 3 aims. Your aims for today's lesson. What do you want to learn?
Anything that's relevant to us.
Okay. You want to specify anything that's relevant? Okay. Who wants to share their aim with us? Just one? One aim per person?
Yeah. I just put how politics see quality, because I see no quality in the politics
Okay.
at all.
Alright. Brilliant.
I've just put to have a better understanding of how quality impacts on my current issue, which is STEM in the early years.
Okay. Brilliant. Well done. Anyone else? Charlene.
I've just put how quality impacts on my subject as well, child obesity,
Okay.
and why.
Well done. Yep. Brilliant. Laura. B.
I just put how politics is linked to perceptions of quality.
Okay. Brilliant. Laura S.
I put inclusion policy relative to practice, which is
Thank you. Right, we'll revisit those aims at the end of the lesson. Okay. Right. Okay. Quality. That's the first section we're going to deal with. So anything that comes after this section header is about quality. And we're going to look at theory, policy, and practice. Okay, to move on. Okay. Now, like I said at the beginning, quality is not an absolute, right? It's not an absolute. Quality is a concept. It's not fixed. When we say non-fixity, it's not fixed, right? Its meaning is not fixed. It means different things to different people at different times in different places. It's not fixed in its application. When you say, oh, we want you to apply these quality principles, different people will apply those principles differently. Different contexts are going to apply those principles differently. There's non-fixity when it comes to application of quality principles. The same applies to the processes of quality. Different settings will follow different processes when it comes to quality provision, quality assurance. Even if you are in the same sector, okay? We do not talk in absolutes when it comes to quality. And then at the bottom there you have multifactorial influences. What we are saying is there are too many factors, right, that you need to take into consideration when you talk about quality. The first one is the form, whether you are providing tangible goods or just a service, right? In our case, where are we? Are we providing of tangible goods or intangible in our sector? Is it tangible? Intangible. It's a service that we mostly offer. Although there may be some goods there, right? If you're in a school, children will be fed with some school dinner and stuff like that. There may be some tangibility aspect to what we provide, but mostly we are providing a service. Okay? So what is tangible? It's the furniture that children sit on. It's tangible, and it also comes into play when you are determining a quality setting, right? The toys that children play with, what they engage with in the playground, all those are tangibles, and they are also a factor in what it means to have quality provision. But then we also have service, right? Can you give me examples of service? What is service when it comes to children, child?
Teaching.
Teaching, yes, excellent. You cannot touch it. It's just delivered. What else?
Like the teachers that come in might help the children.
Yeah, so supporting the children, different needs. Yeah? Care, excellent. Do you remember the philosopher who mentioned that the primary role of schools is to care for our children? Yes. There's one L, it's not double L, no notice, yeah? So we also do offer care. When we talk about safeguarding, we are looking at the care aspect of what we do. All right? Now here we have form. So what form are we? What form is what we are offering in? Is it tangible or intangible? And then you have time. Okay. When we talk about time, we are talking about it in the broadest of senses. What's good quality in 2019 is different from what will be defined as good quality in 2025. And what we consider good quality now is different from what we consider good quality in 2015, in 2013. As time progresses, our notions of quality change, our expectations of what good quality is do change. And so do children's notions of good quality, right? So you also need to know or understand what dispensation you are in. Dispensation just is about the time period. Dispensation about what age you are in. The age of technology, so technology will play a role in defining quality. We're not saying it's the only thing that plays a role in defining quality. We're saying it will play a role because we are in the age of technology. You can say we are in the age of social media. So how you handle social media within your setting will also have an impact on perceived quality when it comes to your settings provision. Because social media does present its own challenges for children. So you must have some kind of social media policy. I don't know if you have it. Do you, in your settings? Do you have social media policy? Or something similar?
I think they have like an ICT kind of,
Yep.
like, and it'll be, I think it'll be in there
Alright.
possibly.
Okay. Who is in a setting currently? In a childhood setting? Okay. Do you have anything to do with social media in your policies?
For staff or children? What do you mean?
Children stuff.
We have that.
Yeah. What does it say?
You can't add for the staff anyway. You can't add parents on Facebook.
Yeah.
You can't post parents on Facebook or post pictures of anything like that on Facebook.
Excellent.
And all parents have signed consent for us to upload pictures to our personal Facebook page for the nursery.
Well done. And do you have something along the lines you need to get consent first before you can put pictures of children on the website, for example? Yeah. Right. I think if a setting does not mention social media in its policies, then probably you need to politely put forward a suggestion that you need something mentioned. You do not have to have a social media policy, but whatever policy you have, whether it's an IT policy or whatever, there's got to be an element to do with social media. In some settings, they will put it in the safeguarding policy, for example, because there are safeguarding aspects or issues that apply to the use of social media by children. Right? And then we talked about place. Why do you think places differ in their notion of quality?
Cultures and
Culture. Okay, do you want to expand on culture?
Say, I know, like north and south divide, there's different stuff that happens, if you know what I mean. It's all the same curriculum and whatnot. I
Yeah.
know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Do you mean like in different localities?
Yeah.
Although there are standardised procedures, there are perhaps say certain notions of quality in certain aspects in relation to perhaps services like wait times and things like that.
Yeah.
In relation to send provision, there might be a higher weight within Stockport as a locality in comparison to say, I don't know, Cheshire, East Cheshire.
Okay. So you may be using the same curriculum, same national statutory frameworks, but the interpretation and therefore application will be different, right, depending on where you are. Right? And okay, so what's the difference between place and context? We have place there, we have context.
Would you look at like things like in an area of poverty, you have to look at a different perspective, and then you have different kind of expectations of if you were to like go somewhere and it's quite a poorer area, you could expect, I don't know.
Yeah, you're on the right lines, yeah.
You know, so they expect, I don't know, like they expect to GCSE A to C, might be higher in one place than it is in another because of poverty, or they're just looking, you have to look at the context of the area
Yeah.
to then state the expectation in terms of the quality that's provided
Yeah.
and the expectations of the children.
Yeah.
That's
So-
come around that way, I don't know how.
I do understand. It's making sense. So context is broader because context takes into consideration things like circumstance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Different places are in different circumstances. priorities, and therefore priorities will vary, even though you're using the same policies and statutory frameworks. The priorities, in certain circumstances, you may find out that maybe safeguarding is more of a priority than other things, than in other areas. For example, where children are at greater risk of abuse or greater risk of being recruited or radicalized, then you may think prevent is more of a priority in those areas. And then in other areas, there are the priorities depending on their circumstances. So that's what we mean by context, right? Okay, now we have some definitions here. Edwards 1968 defines quality as the capacity of a commodity or service to satisfy human wants, right? To what extent does the service satisfy human wants? And when it comes to our sector, we're thinking of, okay, to what extent does the service we offer satisfy children's wants? What are children interested in? What is it that they want? We are not talking about needs, we're talking about what they want, right? There's mention of children's interests in the EYFS, taking into consideration children's interests when we provide the service we provide. So what is it that the humans you serve want? So you're looking at the children, you're looking at the families, you're looking at the community, because your setting is not in a vacuum, right? You are where the community is and you want to be a good neighbor to that community, right? But at the center of our stakeholders, we have the child. To what extent does what we do satisfy that child's wants? It takes us back to Children Act 1989, where we find one of the expectations is that the child's voice must be heard on all matters that affect their lives. And here, the voice does not mean what the child says only. It means what they expect. Okay, their perspective, their view. Even if they don't say it, but you're expected to know what it is they want. There are many ways in which children provide feedback to us besides just talking. Okay? And then Juran 1974, this is quite old as well, looks at quality as fitness for purpose, right? So when you open a setting, when you open your nursery, when you open a school, what purpose do you have in mind? What is the goal? Why do we have schools? To educate. Okay. And when schools are educating, how do we measure fitness for purpose? Ofsted results. Why does Ofsted matter? We'll come back to results. Why does Ofsted matter?
Because that's what schools are accountable to.
Okay, is Ofsted always right?
No.
In what ways are they wrong?
Because it's only like a 1 or 2 day view of the school rather than a whole year of school, so they're just going off that 1 day, and if it's a bad day, then they get a bad result.
Okay, which is not necessarily reflective of what happens every day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can take off personal experience as well, so what might work for one child might not necessarily work for another, and they're just going off kind of the standardised view of a good or a excel
Yeah.
Yeah, but them children,
and they all have individual needs and individual experiences that they're not looking into.
So by standardizing expectations across the whole country, there's an underlying assumption that all children are the same and therefore have the same notions of good quality. Okay? Whereas not all children are the same.
It's not inclusive, you know.
Not inclusive, what do you mean?
It doesn't include everyone.
Okay, for example.
Well, like what was it you that said it? That
Yeah.
And then obviously we're not including the other children, but that might take a bit longer to do something or
Okay.
Also, as well with Ofsted, you can say that they're subjective because although their inspectors are subject to a standardised training, it will also go off their experience. So one Ofsted inspector that would come into a private setting may have been a teacher
Yeah.
or perhaps like a governor, so they would already have that element of sort of subjectiveness before they walk into the setting. Although they're supposed to remove it and be reflexive, they may have a preconceived idea before they go in and inspect, which may then impact on the judgment.
So, what alternative do we have to how things are currently done? If you were given a blank slate and we said, okay, can you come up with a strategy that is better than what we do with Ofsted? What would you include there?
SAPs.
Okay, you want to expand?
A lot of like year 2 SAPs and possibly year 6 SAPs are more for how well the schools are doing, how the teachers are teaching the children within the class.
Yeah.
And obviously there can be different levels of testing. Whether all schools use that, I don't know. But that can like show results of how the school is doing.
Okay, are you saying you would include SATs or you would
I wouldn't include them, but it's a way that schools currently like compare each other
What if
and
a
like
child,
tables and stuff.
what if a child isn't academic?
Oh,
Then
poorly that
there's
may.
no not including all children in that aspect either, because not all children are going to do well on a test.
Well, no.
I think
Okay.
we could look
It's
at
just the
like,
way of using it.
do you know like the EAFS, is it
Yeah.
the 7
Like you
early
guys
learning goals, and they have different ways of the expectations of a child at age 5 or
Yeah.
4 or 5, and what they should be doing at that age, not in regards to necessarily everything academic, but physical, like, and your academic skills. We could maybe incorporate a little bit of that to see, to standardise, not, I don't know, like,
into like other
Into
areas of the
into
curriculum,
like a
so
national
into the national
curriculum.
curriculum.
to look at how the development of a child, not necessarily what they can write or what they can do academically, but in terms of things like physical ability as well,
Okay.
and down to experience.
Right, so that takes us to the work of Benjamin Bloom. Because Benjamin Bloom talks about 3 domains of learning, right? The first domain, obviously, is the cognitive domain, where you're looking at things like knowledge, comprehension, the ability of the child to comprehend. You're also looking at things like analysis, evaluation, synthesis. All that falls under the cognitive domain. But the work of Benjamin Bloom and others, because they did it as a group of scholars, also includes another domain called the affective domain. So cognitive domain is to do with thinking, knowledge, and then the affective domain is to do with emotion, feeling, attitudes. You're also taking into consideration a child's attitudinal development, right? Emotional development as legitimate development. Because if a child is making progress in their emotions and attitudes towards others, they are also developing. So you do not just use one dimension to measure learning or development. You're also looking at what it is that is developing in the child's life insofar as the affective domain is concerned. And the third domain is what they termed psychomotor domain. That's the doing domain, where children can actually show what they can physically do, the skills that
Can
Can
you
you
say
say
that again? The
psychomotor domain. Yeah. You don't need to write it on the board.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes,
Right, so you have 3 domains according to Bloom. So you have the cognitive domain, Bloom et al. Cognitive domain, and then you have the affective domain, okay, And the last one is the psychomotor domain. Okay, so what we have is under, so cognitive has to do with thinking and knowledge. Thinking / knowledge. It's the knowledge domain. Okay, affective has to do with emotions and attitudes. And then the psychomotor is known as the doing domain. It's got to do with skills. So a good quality provision should take care of all three to be holistic. Now, what you find is in most of what we do, where do you think biases towards? What are we biased mostly towards? Is it? Yeah. So it disadvantages children who probably are developing more in the affective area. Okay? You know, when a child can demonstrate that they are kind, or they can share, all that has to do with attitudes, right? When they can demonstrate they are positive about children with, for example, disabilities, that is affective. It is important, right? Having those teamwork skills. It's coming under here because it's all to do with one's attitude, and children should also be encouraged to develop so far as their attitudes are concerned towards a range of issues. When you look at Greta Thunberg, you know the girl from, is she from Sweden?
Has she been on the news?
Yeah.
Yeah, the climate change activist, right? She has developed in this area, affective domain, her attitude towards the climate has developed so fast compared to other children of their age, probably faster than adults, right? So you can say, yeah, she's developing. I know there's an argument or there's debate that is going on that, oh, why is she not in school? What's happening to mathematics? Oh, but she's making progress here in the affective domain. She knows about the climate, so you can argue that she is cognitively developing. Okay.
And also there's an argument that she's got Asperger's and they can get very obsessive
Yeah.
with things, and then he's saying that actually it's more of an obsession that's developed and that her parents are feeding into that obsession and everything else.
That's the conspiracy theory. Okay.
Yes.
You know, when you're making an impact, you know you're making an impact by how many people are talking about you, whether it's positive or negative. There's a worry. I'm not saying an argument should be thrown away. You know, almost all observations may have their own merits and limitations, okay? But one thing we can all agree on is she's developing in the affective area. And also the knowledge that she has gathered regarding climate change, you can argue that she is developing cognitively. Psychomotor, I don't know what she can do physically in terms of skills. We leave that to others to judge who know her. But what we're saying here is a good setting will promote development in these three areas: the cognitive, the affective, and the psychomotor. Psychomotor, a lot of physical activities that you can involve children in. For example, you have your forest schools and stuff like that. They're mostly to do with psychomotor and affective, because when you're out there playing with people or interacting with nature, your attitudes are also developing. So you can argue that affective domain is developing, and the knowledge part is also developing because you grow in what you know about your environment. Okay? Now the mistake that we make in our sector sometimes is we celebrate cognitive aspects more than we do affective and psychomotor. Right? We tend to celebrate children who excel in cognitive area, and that in itself pushes children towards a certain direction, and they will end up being one-dimensional rather than being all-rounded children. So good quality provision. I don't know how you can incorporate this in your current issue, but good quality provision must promote development equally across cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains. Now this stuff is in my new book, forthcoming book as well. Just saying. Okay, right. So fitness for purpose. Sarah, you talked about results. Yes.
Results give they sort of give a view, don't they? They give them a conception and see conception about what is perhaps quality within a school or a setting. So could be results of an Ofsted inspection, could be results, as Katie mentioned earlier, about exams, so your SATs, your GCSEs. They show you how well perhaps the child is learning.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at what we just talked about, is it one-dimensional?
Exactly. That's the question.
That was the summary.
That is the question. That is the because I don't know if you have made this observation. When employers are recruiting, they are looking at all these three things, and in a sense, the feedback they are giving is that education is actually just developing students in one area, and they want to understand more from you about your attitudes towards certain areas. Some job adverts may come with things like your attitudes towards diversity, for example, attitude towards children with special educational needs, and so on and so forth. What those jobs are looking for is, have you developed effectively, right? And then they want to find out what you can do. When you've been asked to actually do a presentation, if it is a teaching job, they are also looking at your skills. All right? So 3 areas. Yes, we have seen your certificate here for first class, you have second, in upper second class. Brilliant, well done. But that's not the only thing you're bringing into the setting. We want you to bring more. What are they looking for? Can you work in a team? Are you positive about other people? And do you appreciate other members of the team you're going to be working with? Effective, right? Can you actually do the job? I've had one criticism that is leveled against graduates when they go into the settings is they don't want to change nappies. What they're testing there is your psychomotor and your attitudes as well. Because not wanting to change nappies is you're thinking, oh, I think that is too lowly for someone with a degree. But no, it's not. A well-developed human being will know that the child, when they need nappy changing, they are uncomfortable, right? You want to make them comfortable. You have to love the children. It's got nothing to do with your degree. Effective. And then can you actually do physical the nappy changing, psychomotor, the skills? Because not everyone can do that. All right. Fitness for purpose, right? Now this is judged by the user. You may think we have a fantastic product. Now, I don't know how Apple do it. Okay, I don't know if you watch Apple videos, but they tell you this is a brilliant product. Okay. Now, what you should understand, probably you already understand it. Okay, the proof of the pudding is in what? In the eating. Right? You may tell us your iPhone is brilliant, but if the user does not agree, if the user experience is inconsistent with your claims, what will happen to iPhones will be similar to what happened to BlackBerry. There was, once upon a time, BlackBerry was brilliant. It was a gold standard of smartphones, but very unreliable. Okay? So your claims must match the user experience, because ultimately it's what the user says that will matter when it comes to quality, not what you say. Many settings, schools and so on, they carry out what is known as self-evaluation. Am I right? What's happening there?
You're evaluating your practice, you are continuously improving by evaluating your practice. Like the self-evaluation form now for PPI, you don't actually have to have it
Yeah.
the official document for your Ofsted inspection. However, you must prove that you can self-evaluate and that all your practitioners and your staff can evaluate situations and perhaps look at best practice.
Okay. Now, is any school, I know you cannot speak for all settings because you don't know what happens, but do you think there will be any school that will evaluate itself at grade 4 during self-evaluation? Any setting, right? So there will be claims that we're doing fantastically, we're doing well, but the user may disagree. You know, Ofsted is all about, not all about, but mostly about the data, aren't they? Okay, Sarah, you have something to say?
I was just going to say, like children, because I do it a lot in my daughter's school and in the school that I'm on placement at the minute, like self-evaluate and peer evaluate as well, so that perhaps would be more of a true reflection from the user's perspective. They do like a traffic light system, so they would then mark how well they thought that they were doing in that particular subject against the teacher's perception. So they might evaluate themselves at like a 4, whereas the teacher would perhaps think from their knowledge and what they've shown in their written work, they're a 1 or a 2. Yeah, if they think they're a 4, it would be up to the teacher then to encourage either their beliefs or perhaps there's a missing link with understanding, and that perhaps might be more of an effective self-evaluation.
Okay. And why do you think Ofsted wants to speak to children and parents?
Because they're consumers, if you like.
Stakeholders.
Yeah? And they're also looking at what is being said on social media, are they not? About your school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're looking for the user's perspective. Yeah? Because quality cannot be defined by the provider. Of course, you take measures to actually do your quality assurance and so on and so forth. But even when you do your own quality assurance within your setting, you are considering the perspective of the user. Right? And then you have Crosby. All these articles are in today's session folder. All the journal articles are there. Right? I think I have about 10 journal articles for just quality. Right? Crosby says conformance to requirements, conforming, right, to requirements, or the word that we tend to use in our sector is compliance. Right? We comply with what is required. What is it that is required? By who? By your stakeholders. And who are the stakeholders?
Children, parents, families, community,
Yeah, children, parents, families, community, practitioners. You're leaving out one key component.
I put children, so I'll say children.
Yeah, children, you've mentioned children, right? How about the regulator? The regulatory body.
Governance.
Yeah, governors.
Offset.
Ofsted, yeah. Because Ofsted do set the requirements as well. And they're saying we are setting the requirements based on what we think parents and children want. Okay, so it's not about your shiny new building, not about elegance. No. Do you conform to requirements? You may have a brilliant, wonderful building, but if you're not in compliance to requirements, then all of that is wasted money. I'm not saying elegance is not good, it's good, because aesthetics do matter. But what's more important are the requirements, right? Take care of the requirements, and then you move on to elegance. You cannot do it the other way around. All right? Okay. Now, we have 2 types of quality according to Townsend and Gebhardt. Again, this article is in the folder, today's folder. Right? 2 types of quality. The first one is called quality of perception. That's what we've mostly talked about so far. Right? That has to do with what your service users think about your service, not what you think. Their perception. It's subjective, and it can change because people's perceptions do change over time. This has nothing to do with actual characteristics, it's just about how people feel about a particular service. It's perception. For example, a certain nursery may have a better brand image than, say, another nursery. Okay? And that will have an impact on people's view of what quality is. Just by virtue of sending your child to, for example, a private school, you think, oh, my child is going to have a brilliant education. It's perception, right? But when you look at the facts, probably certain government schools may be better than certain private schools. Private does not always mean good quality. But in the psyche, in people's psyches, people think if it's expensive, then it's good. There was an example given in one of the economics texts I read years ago, where there was it was kind of a life coach or a trainer. Now this guy was actually doing well, and then he decided to retire. So what he did was he put the prices up by so much because he didn't want to tell his clients who had been with him for a long time. He didn't want to tell them he was now going to retire and was going to stop practicing. So he increased the price so exorbitantly high. The next morning after he had raised his price, what do you think happened when the price was raised?
Clients stop going.
It's the other way around.
You got more clients.
More clients came. He actually found lots of people queuing outside his office. Okay? Why? Because clients thought, oh, if prices have gone up by so much, the quality must have gone up as well. Because there's this association, price and quality. Okay? If you raise the price, people think the quality is better. I'm not saying it's always the case, but in this case, that is what happened. Even though the quality was the same, he wanted to raise the price to just scare away his clients so that he would not feel guilty for stopping his practice. Right? So that phenomenon also happens when it comes to people's notions of good quality in terms of, okay, private practice. Private education is considered good quality purely on price. People don't look at the grades, they don't look at other things and so on and so forth. They just think if it is private education, then it must be of good quality. Mostly it's because the price is very high. You can look at the range of products that you desire or you aspire to have. Most of those aspirational goods, if a high price tag on them, right? Your iPhones, I don't see any difference between an iPhone and the Samsung. I don't know, is there? Except your iPhone goes for $1,000 only. That's what they say, only. Okay. Notions of quality. Try it in the setting, just hide the price and see what happens. As an experiment, okay? So this is based on perception. And then there's number 2, quality of fact. Now this has to do with the characteristics of the service. You're looking at specific items, item by item. How well do you score on this? How well do you score on that? How well do you score on that? And then you come up with some kind of result. You're trying to be objective. And this is so-called quality of fact, based on actual characteristics of the commodity or service. So it's, in a sense, objectively. We'll never get to 100% objective, right? But objectively determined. I should have put inverted commas there, because it's not possible for us to be completely objective, even when you use quantitative measures. How you interpret those items, it's going to be subjective. It depends on who is looking at them, because they will still need to be interpreted, all those figures. It's at interpretation that it becomes subjective. Okay? Now, do you think we can rely on one or the other when measuring quality? Or what do you do with quality of perception and quality of fact? Which one do you think is reliable? Fact. Okay. Anyone else?
Can you not use them both together?
Both? Alright. Okay, let's start with Ruby. Why do you think fact?
I don't know, because it's sort of improved. I don't know.
Okay. Katie, why do you think both?
Because the facts are the facts, but the perception of how people are what, like, the society follow.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
It does, yeah. So it tends to be a combination of both. You know, I gave you an example of, you know, where you make a claim, and if that claim does not match what is actually happening. So when we're talking about claims, we're talking about perception. If perception is not matched with the actual performance, perceptions will quickly change. If people perceive your setting to be a safe setting, and it turns out to be unsafe, their perception will change, because they are now aligning their perception to the facts. Okay? So both quality of perception and quality of fact are important when it comes to considering quality. And when it comes to your settings, it's important that you look at both. Okay? Yes, the perception is that we're a good setting, but does the evidence back that perception? So you have perception, you have the evidence. Fact is the evidence. Perception is what people think. Okay? All right. Now, the importance of context in the meaning of quality. Why do you think context is important?
Is that can determine people's perception?
Yes. Yes, you're right, Katie. Okay, why else?
To make sure it's relevant for the situation.
Relevance, yes, well done. Any more points in this? Why is context important?
Is that how it can be measured? Like, would it make a difference in the
Yes.
measurable aspects of it?
Yep, when it comes to measuring, you're measuring based on the context. You cannot just come and, try and assess quality outside of the context in which it's happening. All right. You've Cullen and Hollingham, 1988. Quality cannot be purchased but must be developed in the minds of everyone in the organization. So when it comes to improving and enhancing and assuring quality, all hands on deck. Okay? The teacher is as important as the cleaner, right? So you cannot just say, oh, when you are measuring quality, it's just the teaching aspect. You have to be in a clean environment, okay? And children must be fed good quality food. So everyone in the setting must get towards the same objective of providing a good quality service. And when we say good quality service, we are looking at the whole setting, not just the classroom, not just what practitioners are doing themselves, but you're also looking at support staff and everyone else who is there within the setting.
like breakfast club. So
Yeah.
breakfast club in my daughter's school is 10p per item,
Yeah.
and the area that school's in, I'd probably say disadvantaged area.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas breakfast clubs in other schools can charge up to £5 for the 45 minutes that they're in breakfast club. So what's the difference? They're both feeding the children.
Yep.
They're both, is one going to use Warburton's bread and one going to use Smart Fries bread? It's still the same concept. They still want to give the children a good quality of care.
Yes.
But obviously the perception of where it is and why they do that will change how much people will pay and how much they're willing to let the children go to that breakfast club.
Yep. If the same price was charged in an affluent area, people would think what you are selling is poor quality. Because they would expect you to charge more.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you charge more in a disadvantaged area, people will just think it's too pricey for them to afford, so they won't buy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So everyone within an organization is important when it comes to quality. Even the children in a setting, they can actually make the quality of experience for other children terrible. Imagine if you had children who are not well developed socially, you don't have the social skills, or always fighting. That will have an impact on other children's experiences. It's just like in a college, it's not just up to staff members, it's also about how are other students, are they good, are they nice to each other? If you have children who are bullying other children, that will impact on what? On the quality of the service. Oh, that's why we have all sorts of policies in the behavior policy. Why? Because those policies are there to ensure that quality is consistent across the organization. So when you discuss quality, when it comes to your essay, do not just focus on what staff members are doing, also focus on what children are doing. Because they are an integral part of what happens within the setting. Okay to move on? Right. Now, the notion of quality has changed slightly. Previously, it was about how much you conform, right, to expectations. And nowadays, it's about requirement. You are required to do this. This is the requirement. If you do not follow what you're required to do, then your quality is going to be questioned. More emphasis on customer reliability and value, right? So the customer is at the center of what we're doing, and in our case, who is our customer? Parents. You forgot one important customer. Before parents is is the child. So you emphasize on the child, you emphasize on the parents, you emphasize on all your clients or service users, and you also must emphasize on reliability, right? The reason why BlackBerry folded or failed where Apple succeeded was on the issue of reliability, right? Yes, you may claim that your service is brilliant, but is it reliable? Can people rely on it? Now, one of the key components of reliability is you must consistently perform at the expected level. Consistency, that's reliability. If you came into a setting, one day you are happy with your service, with the service that you get, and then the next day it's kind of lukewarm, and then the next day, oh, everyone is brilliant. Those inconsistencies will impact on the notions of quality, people's perception of the quality of service that you provide. Reliability has to do with consistency, right? You must be consistently positive when you are working with children, You must be consistently caring when you are working with children. You cannot afford not to care even for 1 minute, because that may have huge ramifications for your service and for the child. So there has to be that consistency. And then the value is what you're charging consistent with what you are offering. What is it that the customer is getting from your setting? Auckland, Dotting 92, page 135. Again, another document that's in that folder. It is necessary to be prepared to redefine quality in response to external influences. Like I said at the beginning, if you remain the same and you do not continuously improve, soon what was considered quality yesterday will no longer be good quality today. All right? So there's that need for you to continuously improve. So what they're saying here is, it is necessary to be prepared to redefine quality in response to external influences, and as organizational learning allows and dictate. Right, when we talk about organizational learning, we're talking about, okay, what sort of feedback are you getting from your context, and can you adapt to it? Learning is about adapting to what surrounds you in a positive way. You do not learn as individuals, you learn as an organization. Right? Be prepared to change what needs to be changed. If a certain safeguarding issue arises, even before your policy is due review, you can actually review it and change it so that you are up to date with what is happening within and around. You know, when Prevent was introduced, it was because of external influences, right? Something happened with regards to radicalization of children, and the response was, okay, let's have a Prevent duty in place, and all practitioners must be trained in how to handle it. What was happening there? Organizational learning. In this case, it was national learning, if you want to put it that way. And all organizations adapted as well. Not because of what happened within them, but because of what had happened elsewhere, but that applied to all organizations that deal with children, schools, and nurseries and other settings. Any setting that deals with children, they had to adapt. Why? Because of external influences, and organizational learning dictated that this is what we need to do, and everyone had to comply with it. Okay? So it was no longer conformance, but it became a requirement that all settings must adhere to Prevent duty. Right? We have a range of models. Ishikawa 1985 says all functions, all employees, continuous improvement and customer orientation. So everything that you're going to offer within your setting must be directed or oriented, customer focused. That's what we mean, customer oriented. And then you have Joran 1986 and 1989. It talks about quality model that involves planning, control, and improvement. Control has to do with making sure that everything is being followed to the letter. You control what's happening within your setting. Improvement is there as well. And then we have SNE 1986, philosophy, control, and improvement. What is it that you believe quality to be, right? And then you have the next one. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the surname, right? But it's a 1989 publication. Context, barrier removal, that's what they consider quality to be about. Empowering people to make decisions. Communication, quality has to be communicated. If you cannot communicate to staff, if you cannot communicate with your service user, if you have improved something, tell your service user that you have improved something. Tell the children, we have introduced this, that and the other, to benefit you. If you do not communicate it, people may not be aware of the changes. So it's important for you and for your service users that you actually communicate the quality. That's what this author is saying. And then you have Auckland 1989, it's talking about quality in terms of management. It's got to be managed, obviously, and it happens within a system. A system is where you have different components working together towards the same goal, right? Like I said, it's got to involve everyone, not just what is happening in the classroom, but what's happening in the canteen is also as important. A clean environment is also important. So all staff members, all hands on deck. So you have a system there, teamwork, and the tools to deliver the quality with, right? Because you need investment. If you are going to make sure that children are safe, you may want to make sure that you invest in, for example, CCTV equipment, right? Are there the necessary tools for quality to be achieved, right? You want children to sit in comfortable chairs, you better invest in those comfortable chairs. You want them to be in a clean room, you must invest in ensuring that that room is clean. Shores 89 model involves customer management, participation, everyone has to participate. It's not just saying this is what we expect. If no one participates in your quality processes, what good is it, right? Then analysis as well. You cannot just say we're providing good quality. There must be an element of analysis, okay? In your regular meetings, you must review, is what we are doing what we set out to do? What is the feedback like? Analysis involves reflection as well. It enables you to reflect on what you're doing in your context. And then you have SARF 8R, is a model that involves management leadership. There's a quality department. Now, this may be a larger organization than most organizations you are in. Quality department, and then it involves training as well. Right, some quality issues require that staff are trained. In certain contexts, you may want to come up with some kind of design for the kind of quality that you want. What is it that we want to do? How are we going to approach it? What's the framework going to be like? What's the quality design in your setting? Supplier management, what you are getting, for example, food for children, say you offer meals for children in your setting. Do you know where you are sourcing your food? Or the toys you are getting, are they not poisonous, for example? So you need to also look at who your suppliers are. Right? When it comes to equipment, do they provide reliable equipment? Children's chairs, are they easily broken? Probably you need to change your supply. Right? And then you look at process management, process control, data and reporting. You need to keep record of what is happening where, especially with regards to aspects that have to do with the quality of service that you provide. And then employee relations are important as well. If you want employees to invest a lot of energy and effort and passion in your quality processes, you must have positive employee relations. So these are different models. You may want to come up with maybe a condensed version of all models. I don't know how you want to use this in your essay, but feel free to use any of these or a combination of any of these. I'm not saying use them all, but what you'll find is there are certain things that are common across all models, and then there are certain features which are actually distinguishing between the models. Any questions? Questions? Right, so you need to think about, okay, what's the relationship between, if you are looking at poverty as the current issue, what's the relationship between poverty and quality, right? If you're looking at obesity, what's the relationship between childhood obesity and quality? Are children getting good quality service when it comes to managing their weight? Okay? I think this aspect, I know, this aspect relates to any current issue you are going to be writing about. you have to write about it because this is learning outcome 3, am I right? Yeah? So it's got to be there. Alright. Now when we say your service must be customer focused or customer oriented, right? Conway 1988 says customers define quality. It's the customer who says what good quality is. So what it means is your setting must be responsive to customers' requirements. Okay? Am I in your way?
No, it's okay.
Okay. Right. Respond to customer requirements. You should know what your customer requires. You should know what your children require. You should know what families require from you. There is also importance of direct feedback from customers, right? Ask for feedback. Right? How was the day today? You ask the children at the end of the day, how are you finding the game? Even during the learning activities, do you think this is making sense? Is this helping you? Are you enjoying it? All of those are constant opportunities for feedback from children. If the child is not enjoying it, probably you want to change it. How was your meal today? If your setting feeds children, right? Why? Because feedback is important. Do not wait for an end of term feedback, end of term questionnaires. For example, I need to find out whether or not my lessons are effective. I cannot wait for the end of module because it's too late. Okay, if my lessons are terrible, then there's a good chance that you're going to fail because it's already too late. So I need to constantly find out from you, are you finding the lesson helpful? Is it useful? You know, those constant conversations we have. Are the YouTube videos working, for example? I asked in the beginning of the session. Why? Because I want that feedback. So that if there's anything that we need to adjust as we go along, we can adjust. Yes, end of period reviews are important. You know, those feedback forms we give people. But they are sometimes too late because a module is already gone away. I mean, it's gone by, right? If it is to do with children, if you wait for end of term, that's too late to get feedback from parents and children. You have these impromptu opportunities, right? Parents come in to pick up their children, you ask them, how is the child finding the setting? Is she happy? Is he happy? Is there anything that your child wants from us that he or she is not getting, right? If you can't afford it in your setting, yes, you may not afford it, that's fair, but at least you are showing that you are concerned, you care for children. When you go back, so it takes us back to Neil Nording's assertion that the primary role of schools is to care for our children, right? Constantly asking for feedback shows you care. You're not saying you're going to give everything the child needs, it's not possible, but at least you are caring enough to want to find out at the end of the day, right? How are you today? How are you feeling? And so on and so forth. This is not indirect feedback. Direct feedback is about you face to face getting that feedback. But feedback on a piece of paper is different from feedback face to face, right? You agree with that or not? The face to face feedback gives you an opportunity to instantly look at what you're doing, change it as you go.
You might not always receive accurate feedback face to face. Say if someone does have a criticism,
Yeah.
they might not be willing to provide that criticism to your face, whereas in a sort of written form, they can do that and give it to you without having any repercussions or having to have a discussion around their criticism.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That is a fair point. That's why you need a combination of both. Yeah? But you can, how many times can you issue those forms? Can you issue them every day? Children are going to experience survey fatigue at some point. But there is value in those. I am not going to dismiss that point. That's a very valid point. If it's something very serious, people would rather just write it, right? There are settings where they have a suggestions box. I don't know if your settings are like that, where you can just put in your suggestion at any time anonymously. That's another form of feedback that you can actually implement in your setting, right? But feedback is useful, okay? And some of it is not verbal, some of it can actually be observed, right? There's feedback you can actually observe, like body language. If the child is looking unhappy, that is feedback as well, okay? If I, in my lesson, if I asked questions and no student responded, okay, that is feedback, all right? Either students don't understand what I'm teaching, or they're bored, right? And I need to take that into consideration when I plan my next lesson. So feedback is not just being told. Sometimes you can actually observe it. You can get a lot from what is not being said, as just as you can get a lot from what is being said. So what children do not say also will matter, because they are not always going to tell you, like what Laura is rightly saying. But yes, writing anonymous slips as well is good, because it gives children and other service users avenues, alternative avenues to actually give you feedback. You want to give everyone all options to give you feedback, because feedback is valuable to your setting. That's free consultancy for you. They don't charge you for their advice, but it helps improve your setting. Then you have the difficulty of intangible products. How is quality defined? Because services are quite tricky when it comes to service. Because how a person feels about your service is not only affected by the service you're offering, it's also affected by what I call pent-up forces. Now, these are things which are happening outside of your setting, right? If a child is having a negative home experience, they may have a pessimistic view of life in general, right? To the effect that even how they feel about your setting may be affected, not by what is happening in the setting, but what is happening outside the setting. Have you ever experienced that? That sometimes your perception of something may be affected by what you are going through in your personal life. And you don't know how to distinguish that from what the child actually perceives as it. So it's not about what you're doing there. Maybe they're just having a rough time outside of your setting. That is why there's need for that link between home and school, home and setting, because their perspective or perception and quality may be impacted on by other things happening in their lives. You may watch if you know, when you go to a brilliant movie and everything is fine, even a satisfactory, an average movie can make you happy, right? Or maybe it's because you've gone to that movie with your date. It's not because the movie is fantastic. It's because you have someone you enjoy, whose company you enjoy, and having them beside you will make you enjoy the movie. And next time you see the movie, it makes you it reminds you of this wonderful person in your life, okay? And for some reason you just love the movie, not because of the movie itself per se, but because the movie reminds you of probably who you watched it with the first time. Right? But if you're having a rough time, it doesn't matter if you're watching Tom Cruise or someone else. You know, the new James Bond explained to be a woman, is it? Or Osebe. I can't wait to watch it. Right? If you are having a really, really, really rough time, you've just separated with your ex and you found that, oh no, you don't like them, go to that movie, you may not enjoy it, regardless of how brilliant this movie is. So what we're saying there is external factors are impacting your experience of the movie to the point that you think it's terrible. Okay? The same applies to children when you serve them. If they are having other external factors affecting their lives, they may not actually enjoy being in your setting. Nothing to do with your setting, but because of what they're going through at that particular point in time in their lives. This does not only affect intangibles, it also affects tangibles, you know. That the same iPhone you enjoy, you may not like it if things are tough, if they're rough. Have you ever seen people actually smashing things or just breaking them because they're so angry? Yeah? It's the same iPhone you paid £1,000 for, and you just smash it because, oh hell is breaking loose. Why? It's because there are other factors happening in your life that makes you no longer appreciate the iPhone. Okay? Same things happen. There may be other factors affecting children's lives that will come in the way of them appreciating what your setting is doing. So it's important to understand what it is that is happening in children's lives as well, so you can help alleviate the situation. Right, understand customers' likes, tastes, and applications of your product. How are they using what you are doing in your setting? How are they applying the knowledge that you're giving them, for example? You need to know, right? Because when you understand that, when you understand what they like, what their tastes are like, and how they apply your service, it helps you also improve that particular service. And then you have reliance on customer complaints, not always reliable. Now, why do you think relying on customer complaints is not always reliable?
Sometimes they complain for the sake of it,
Okay,
just to try and get something for themselves out of it.
all right. And sometimes you may have, when you ask for feedback, the happy ones are too busy to give you feedback. Do you know that? Most of the time, those who are happy are too busy to give you feedback. But when people are not happy, they will find the time to complain. And sometimes we wonder, why is it that anyone who has ever given us feedback is almost a negative person? It's because when people are unhappy, they have time to complain. They will know who to contact. We just hear things, oh, how did they know? How did they find that email? How did they? Yeah, it's human nature. When you're unhappy, you find the time, you become resourceful in how you communicate with people. And yeah, of course, that happens. So it's not always reliable, because the happy ones may not come back to say thank you. Right? The same applies to, but it depends also on people's personalities. Some people, when they are not happy, they just walk away, they won't come back. They won't say anything. Right? Parents may just move their children to a different setting, and they won't give you feedback. Grandparents move their children, not because they've moved to, they've changed their residential area, but just moving their child from your setting to another setting while they're still living in the same area. Probably something to do with their displeasure with your setting. It's important to carry out exit interviews anyway. When children leave, say why have you left? Is there anything that we can do to keep the child here? It's always helpful. Right, so listen carefully, attentively to customers, right? And this includes compliments. Please note there's an I there. There's a difference between compliment with LE and compliment with LI. LI, what it means there is positive comments, okay? They are also helpful, because positive comments will give you an indication of what it is that you need to keep on doing or to even do better. expose all people from the organization to customers, right? All people from the organization. You're not just exposing them to those frontline staff members, but you include all people from the organization, including support staff, because that will build the whole picture for the client. Predict and anticipate future needs and prepare. Do not wait for things to go wrong. Do not wait for needs to emerge. Try and predict what is likely to be needed 5 years from now, judging on current trends, if nothing changes. But those people who are able to predict using data and so on are more able to be prepared, and therefore they won't be taken by surprise when things happen. If you are taken by surprise, it's because you're poor at planning. If you're a good planner, you will know before things happen what is likely to happen. For example, good nurseries now are considering what Brexit means for the nurseries before it has happened. Because Brexit is it's less than 5 weeks away now. 31st of October, deal or not deal, it's going to happen according to Boris Johnson.
It's a great day, aren't they, Halloween?
Yeah.
Yes, Halloween Day, yeah. So good settings, good leadership in settings is already planning. Because what you are hearing on the news is about the economy, about companies, but you need to find out what Brexit means for our sector. There is data out there.
The DFE are already sending schools information in preparation with regards to meals, food supplies, things like that.
Yeah.
So they're already doing that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Because then you need to be prepared. Right? Not just for tomorrow. For 5 weeks from now, 12 months from now, using current data. And then you can always adjust your predictions based on the changes in trends. If you want to succeed, is anyone planning to run their own nurseries? Anyone planning to run their own business? No. Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah. You may want to. You may want to run it. And we need new generation of setting owners, and that could be you. Right? You want to compete with Kids Aloud and the likes. Yeah. Stockport College graduate. That'd be lovely. Think about it. Okay. What I was going to say is, if you're planning to run your own setting, then you need to be very good at being predictive. Okay. The last point before we go for break, predict and anticipate future problems. So what is likely to cause you problems, judging by what you currently are facing, right? And be prepared. All these fit into quality. All right, are there any questions, folks? Okay, the time now is what, 22 minutes past 11. So at 11, exactly 11:37, we are back here. 15 minutes break. Okay.